Yes, welcome into SportsBIT. Betting Insight today, Pauly and Teddy. Tuesday, February 7th, deep dive. We recap the Super Bowl, how the players do, the bookmakers, Jimmy Vaccaro from the Southpoint prop side total, and we'll run everything down with Jimmy coming up in the deep dive. We got a couple games to get to, big game breakdown, Dallas and Portland, and a college game as well. Jimmy Vaccaro is taped, and this information wasn't available when we talked to Jimmy, but no surprise here, Teddy. In Nevada, record handle for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Jay Kornegay tweeted it out. Breaking news. Nevada Sportsbooks break the Super Bowl handle record, $138.5 million. The win for the Nevada Sportsbook comes in about $10 million, a hold of 7.9%. And that's even with, Pauly, even with a number of decisions going against the house. The books still held close to 8% of everything they booked.
How about that? Boy, is it great to be a bookmaker, and you got to, when you got to lay the $1.10, Teddy, and it's great when you get balanced action. You have overtime, that overtime ticket finally cashes, defensive touchdown, most of the Patriots props go over, missed extra point, 2-point conversion, and they still make money. How about this too? At CG Technology here in Las Vegas, they had a ties-lose parlay card, and a guy hit like an 8-teamer for $35,000. They still held 55% on those cards.
Yeah, of all the bets that you don't want to make in Las Vegas Super Bowl week, the ties-lose parlay cards are probably at the top of the list because they're designed to push on every number, quite literally. I mean, when you're paying out an 8-teamer at what'd you say you made, 35 grand?
35
and
grand.
You're still holding 55% on those cards?
Oh.
It tells you all you need to know. Those are a legitimate sucker bet.
Yep, Bill Barnwell did a nice job by ESPN all season covering the NFL. What did you think of ESPN's probability breakdown? When they were down 28-3 with 8 minutes left, ESPN said the Patriots were 0.2% to win the game. With Tom Brady?
That's 2 chances in 1,000. That's to win.
Yeah.
That's not the cover, -3. That's just to win. Okay? And again, throughout the second half, Atlanta's at 99% or higher. Fourth quarter, even after the field goal, all right, their win expectancy shifted from 0.3% to 0.4%. After the strip sack, all right, when it's 28-12, there's still 8.5 left. Win percentage, all the way up to 1.8%. After they score the touchdown to make it 28-20. There's 6 minutes left at that point, according to the ESPN numbers. The Patriots have a 6.1% chance. Again, just to win. They still have to cover -3, which they did in overtime. Just to win, they're only at 6% at 21-20. I think those numbers are a little bit low. And watching the game, you certainly felt that New England had a chance to come back. But the bottom line is that it was a truly historic and epic meltdown/comeback. And the mathematical odds clearly show, man, one of those deals that you just don't see every day or every year or every lifetime, Pauly. 2 chances in 1,000. And of course, there was a little bit more of that last night. We'll talk about it when we get to bad beats and bad bets.
You can't be less than 1% when you have Tom Brady. It also reminded me of 2013. Remember that Sunday night game when Denver went to New England and it was like 24-0 at the half? With Peyton Manning, and the Patriots won that game too.
Yeah, sure. And of course, the Patriots close out at 16-3 against the spread, Pauly. That's impossible. In the modern era of NFL, when you take the most public team or one of the most public teams in the league with named superstars, they're on TV all the time, teams like that can't go 16-3 ATS. And of course, that's part of the reason why this wasn't a great NFL year for many of the sports books in Las Vegas. And you think about the games they lost, the Jacoby Brissett game, the Seattle game on Sunday Night Football. Wasn't a whole lot going wrong for New England point spread-wise.
Teddy, they just won the Super Bowl. They could get a first and a second for Garoppolo, and they could trade Gronkowski and get more picks.
Yeah, sure, they could. It's New England's been a dynasty. They remain a dynasty until proven otherwise. And obviously, when you have guys that you can deal, and it's an interesting question. Do you deal Garoppolo or do you hold on to him? Because in my mind, having a backup quarterback for a 39-year-old Tom Brady is worth more than having a number 1 pick. because they won games with Garoppolo behind center. As for Gronk, the guy hasn't stayed healthy in the last 4 years, and they've been winning games without him. If they can get a draft choice for him, I certainly wouldn't think that would be a necessarily bad move for New England.
All right, always tweet us at Pauly Howard, at Teddy_covers. Be involved in the show. We love hearing from you, especially Thursday nights with the Google Hangout at 8 Pacific. Everybody's an expert, and everyone knows the outcome after the game's been played. Some horrible beats we had over the weekend with the defensive touch. I mean, Brady threw his first pick six in a playoff game ever, okay? And, you were pissed off, and rightfully so. We both had the under. We both had Atlanta. But when the games sit at 59 for a total, and you get a scoreless quarter, and you get sacks that fly over and punts fly over, there's no way the game should go over. Some interesting tweets here, Teddy, you want to respond to.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, look, the bottom line is this is a results business, all right? And we lost. We lost the Super Bowl. My props didn't win. My side didn't win. My total didn't win. Here's a tweet from the Boba Georgian. Teddy, I love your show, your analysis, but this Super Bowl, you've just been terrible. No defensive T. Under. Number of sacks. Why? Carter. Teddy, LMAO. You didn't hedge off Atlanta. -10, plus 500. LMAO. You truly are a degenerate square. Jen. Teddy covers. How could you take Atlanta? LMAO, your prop also doesn't cash. Your under doesn't cash.
How could you take Atlanta?
That's the nature of the business, man. They're going to rip you on Twitter when you lose. Sometimes they rip you when you win, too. But here's the skinny, okay? When I've got a 28-3 lead, all right, I didn't hedge off it. Let's talk about the hedging first. I'm up towards 21-3 at halftime. I felt pretty good about my wager at plus 500. It wasn't a let's lock some profit in. It wasn't a huge wager. It wasn't my whole bankroll was on there. It's anytime you're talking about hedging, the only time you want to hedge off a bet is if the bet that you're making is just as positive expectation as the bet that you have, or maybe not just as positive expectation, but is a positive expectation wager. And watching that first half, I didn't see the Patriots coming back. You didn't see the Patriots coming back. The lines makers didn't see the Patriots coming back.
No.
16-1
when it was 28-9 on the money line.
Yeah, I was wrong, and I'm going to be wrong sometimes. But that doesn't make me a degenerate square. That doesn't make me a loser. And for God's sakes, be careful. This was a bad beat that really affected people, and I saw it around town all day on Monday. I noticed it in people that I was talking to. Guys' tempers were a little bit tighter. My own temper was a little bit tighter. This was a bad beat that was as epic as it gets, and I know there are people that bet over their heads in the Super Bowl. We're experienced at this. Pauly, you and I have been in this game for a long time. We can handle it, but if you're finding that your rage level is rising, if you're finding that all of a sudden you feel like beating your wife or beating your kid or doing irrational behaviors, back away, walk away, go for a walk, take a day off, do something else. Sports betting, we like to make money with it. It's not a hobby. This is a money-making proposition. But when you're not thinking right up here, you're not going to make good decisions with your wagering dollars, and you're not going to make good decisions in your life. I encourage you, if you're walking around in a cloud because you had Atlanta or you had under, take a day off, take a breath, come back and join us on tomorrow.
Yeah, tough. Yeah, some really stupid tweets. That's like tweeting, how did you like the under in the Green Bay-Detroit game on Sunday night that went over with the Hail Mary with 20 seconds left? 28-3. 8 minutes left in the third quarter. How'd you like Atlanta? Oh, my God. So,
I'm an idiot. What can I say?
Well, it continues, though, Teddy, because we had the Wizards.
I know. I mean, did you see obviously you saw it, banking in the three. Yeah, the bank was open. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, well, LeBron banks in a three to force overtime at the buzzer. And, of course, the Cavs get there in overtime.
Well, Kyrie went nuts. Kyrie, yeah. I mean, how many impossible shots did Kyrie hit in overtime? I mean, the Wizards didn't give it to him in OT. Washington was up 5 in OT. And Kyrie just couldn't miss.
I can't believe LeBron banks it in front of the Wizards bench, too, to force OT. You also had the Pacers?
Yeah, of course I did. I had the Pacers at a good night. I had Indiana minus 3.5 in my pocket. All right, they're up but 91-82, with just under 5 to go. Indiana scores 2 points the rest of the way in the last 5 minutes. Wide open three to clinch the win in the cover from C.J. Miles. Oh, just off the back of the rim. And then, of course, in the scramble in the final minute, the Thunder grab the offensive rebound as opposed to Indiana and getting fouled. The clock runs out. Pacers win by 3. Indiana minus 3.5, no good, even though the line did close at 5. But that's just, the last couple days, the way I've been running, geez, 2017 I haven't run so good, Pauly, but the last 2 days have not been a whole lot of fun in my world to be a sports bettor.
I hope you didn't have St. Bonnie Saturday.
No, we got to talk about this.
Okay, this was great. VCU's playing St. Bonaventure. The game's VCU's on the road. The Bonnies are catching 1.5. They hit a 3 with what, 0.3 seconds left to go up 1. And then the crowd comes on the floor. A couple members of the fans came on the floor early. One fan bumped an official. Whoops. They tee him up. And VCU hits a free throw to send it to overtime where they get the money and win the game.
Yeah, that's bro. Okay, your team wins the game. All right, they hit a 3, and they're supposed to win the game. There was 0.4 seconds left. The Bonnies hit that 3-pointer. The fans stormed the court, and the ref calls a tee. They hits the tee, and of course, VCU goes nuts in overtime. And note that the day after the game, the A10 conference, quote, although the game official cited crowd interference as a rationale for assessing the administrative technical foul at the end of regulation in the VCU St. Bonaventure men's basketball game, that interpretation was inaccurately associated with the SBU students and fans storming the court during regulation. Oh, brother. So, the quote, I'm not going to read the whole thing. There was an unfortunate series of events in this game which impacted both institutions of the A10. The conference will continue to work with all involved, including the game officials, for stronger game management in the future. Have you ever rushed the court, Pauly?
What do you mean? I've ever rushed the court? I think it should
be
banned.
Yeah, you've been in a game
ridiculous.
where you rush the court.
No, I think it's ridiculous. Yeah.
It's a ton of fun if you get the opportunity. It doesn't happen every day. But in this case, rushing the court paid the ultimate price for St. Bonnie's as they lost the game.
Incredible.
And of course, if you had the Bonnies plus the 1.5, you're loving it when they hit the 3. You're weeping when you lose in overtime.
And I'll tell you what, Oregon almost got teed up because they were throwing, what was it, chalk or something? When they hit the first 3 against Arizona, the game was delayed. There was so much chalk on the court. And they threw it over poor Bill Walton, who's just hanging there doing the game. He wasn't happy. And
they could have, with the Oregon-Arizona game, Oregon could have gotten called for about 30 technical fouls in that game. They still would have won and covered. That was an impressive showing.
We'll do Super Bowl 52 odds on tomorrow's show. Jimmy Vaccaro in the deep dive. Up next, big game breakdown. We got the Blazers and the Mavs and Michigan State coming up on SportsBIT. Betting Inside today on SBRPicks.com.
Go to SBROdds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBIT, Betting Inside today, Pauly and Teddy. Time for big game breakdown. As always, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Interesting game in the association. Blazers hit the road to take on the Mavs. Dallas won 205 the total. They played Friday night in Portland. Dallas was +6. They won by 4, 108-104. They led by as many as 24 points. Portland rallied to tie the game in the 4th, but Yogi Ferrell went off again. What a story here. The Nets didn't want him. He's on a 10-day contract with the Mavs. He has been so good, and he can't miss, that the Mavs say, we got to give this guy a 2-year deal, Teddy.
Yeah, go from a 10-day contract to a 2-year deal. That's a nice 10 days for Ferrell. Of course, 9 from 11 from three-point range in the win at Portland last Friday night. And, of course, you look at the graphic right here. The Dallas backcourt with Ferrell and Curry badly outplayed the Blazers backcourt with the All-Stars and the All-Star contenders. Of course, Lillard just 4 of 20 in that game, 1 of 8 from three-point range. He got schooled by the rookie. The Mavs went into last night's game at Denver 4-0 straight up and against the spread with that starting backcourt of Ferrell and Curry, but then got lit up in Denver last night. Portland becomes the first team to get a second look at that duo, and there's no question the Blazers, the much fresher of these two teams. It's only their 3rd game in 7 days in February. Meanwhile, Dallas coming out of altitude in Denver last night, where Harrison Barnes, Yogi Ferrell, Wes Matthews, Seth Curry all played 32-plus minutes for a team that isn't very deep. And, of course, Wes Matthews left that game in the 4th quarter after clutching his right ankle. That is definitely going to be a concern for tonight's game. He's a question mark right now.
Here's Lillard on Yogi after the game. This was Friday night. Quote, our game plan was we're going to go into the pick and rolls, try to keep him out of the paint. Hit a few early, got his confidence up. He started catching and rising up. He had a great game. With anyone playing in this league, they get a couple of shots to fall. You never know what can happen, end quote. Then on Sunday, It's not going down the same way. In a way, you're happy for him and his success with the opportunity he was given, but you don't want it to happen against your team. Obviously, we wanted that game, and because of that kind of performance by him, we didn't get it, so we're going to come in here with that on our minds, end quote. Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Linsanity, that the kid's been dynamite.
No question. It reminds me a lot of Linsanity. Of course, it's not in the media market of New York where Linsanity was happening, but I think Lillard's point is right, and this is something that we talk about a lot on this show. The worst scrub, the 15th guy off the bench in the NBA, give him some playing time, let him hit a shot or two, you know what? He can light you up. And we've seen that more than once all over the league this year. But the question comes about this Blazers team. I mean, there's a lot of things to like in some ways about Portland, but one of the things I don't like about the Blazers, they've really struggled to close games out of late. They've tied or had the lead in the fourth quarter in each of their last 8 games. They're only 4-4 straight up during that span. The losses by 1, 2, 4, and 6 points. And yet, all the comments coming out of Portland, they're still pretty positive there, Pauly.
Yeah, Alan Crabb, quote, "We owe them one. We're looking forward to that game. We'll be well prepared. Feel good about this homestand." Plumlee said, "Would have liked to win that Golden State game. We gave ourselves a chance. We're not losing by blowouts anymore," which was a major concern early in the season. We're competitive. We're playing better as a group. More Lillard comments, too. So they're saying the right things here, and revenge on their minds, Teddy.
No question. I mean, they had the game against the Dallas circled last Friday, and they lost that one at home. I think the short turnaround revenge helps the Blazers, especially since they coming off another loss they suffered on Super Bowl Sunday.
All right, game number 2, live odds, sportsbookreview.com. Good matchup here. Michigan State, Michigan. Michigan 4, 136.5 the total as Sparty turned the corner. Got the home win with Michigan last week, followed up with 11-point win at Nebraska, and they already played Sparty, when they played, January 29th, Sparty was laying 2.5. They won by 8, Teddy.
Yeah, and let's start with this. Michigan -4 is not going to hold. If you like Michigan State, take them sooner rather than later. Because as we've seen, what did we talk about earlier? Earlier? I think it was last week's show. We talked about how the money's going to come on Michigan State. And February, the money comes on Sparty. And the betting markets have been knee-jerking towards Michigan State at this time of year for years, and deservedly so. Okay, so what's been going on? I mean, Miles Bridges. It's been a pretty big difference maker. The last 6 games, he scored 117 points, averaging 19.3 per. He has 51 rebounds. And boy, against the Wolverines, Miles Bridges was a difference maker. 15 points, 13 boards, 3 steals, 2 assists, 2 block shots as Michigan State pulled away from Michigan in the second half of that ball game.
Yeah, I got a problem with the scheduling spot here, too, and Izzo's not happy about it either with the quick rematch. Quote, "Well, one benefit, as we just went through it, you pull up the practice plan, it's fresh in your mind, you start going over the plays, the players right away remember it. Personally, I think the challenges are worse than the benefits. I don't like playing teams like that almost back-to-back. I don't know how Beeline feels about it. I don't know how other coaches feel about it. It just seems too quick to me," end quote. The NFL does this all the time where you have 2 games against the same opponent in 3 weeks. I think it's silly. So I see where Izzo's coming from. But, Michigan, 7 of 26 from 3 in that last trip. Also against Ohio State, they lost 70-66. They have been living or dying by that 3, Teddy.
Well, yeah, against the Buckeyes, 35 of their 51 shots were triples. They only made 13 of those. They took 26 three-pointers against Sparty out of 56 total shots. And when you're only making 7 of those, or 13 of the 35 against Ohio State, you're going to lose games. So the last 2 games, 61 shots from beyond the arc in 80 floor minutes. That's not getting to the hole. That's not getting good looks near the basket. Now, Michigan's still number 1 in the Big Ten in offensive efficiency. They're still number 1 in turnover percentage. They do take great care of the basketball. But they are dead last in the conference in defensive efficiency. And you look at this Bayline quote, this defense not likely to get a whole lot better. Bayline quote, "There are no junkyard dogs out there. We know that. Of all the things that Michigan really needed this year, junkyard dog would do that team a whole lot of good."
All right, up next, the deep dive, Jimmy Vaccaro. He'll run it down, the Super Bowl, the props, And we'll get to the play of the day, Money Time, on SportsBIT, betting insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts and shop for lines at SBRodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.
Back on SportsBIT, time for 5 great minutes with Jimmy Vaccaro, bookmaker for over 40 years. Stop in and see him at the South Point. Follow him on Twitter at Jimmy Vaccaro. I'll use your line here, Jimmy. I mean, you take that script to Hollywood that Brady would be surrounded by his family, throw the pick six, come all the way back down 25 with 8 minutes left in the third. Hollywood would laugh at you.
Yeah, they sure wouldn't. We'll go a step further, my friend. There was a lot of stories written in the past, 3 weeks when the playoffs started, saying, it's been a very dull playoff. Nothing exciting has happened. Well, you can completely erase that whole board and put up, wow, what an unbelievable ending to an unbelievable season.
It reminded me of college, where the Bulls were weak, the semifinals were blowouts, and Alabama-Clemson bailed us out.
Yeah, it only takes one thing, and as the tournament's always turned around, people only remember what they saw last. Well, they'll take this thing clear into the next football season, because what you saw in both the college finals and the NFL finals is something that, as you said, Scorsese couldn't have made it any better. But as far as like the industry in general, as far as like what we take away from this, you can't get any better. You have a great time. You have a packed casino. The numbers were right there. The prop numbers we were right. 50% of the handle was on the props. And actually, when they kicked the ball off, Pauly, we were in such a good spot because I've never seen such great two-way action in the past 40 years. We never had to come off the number 3, which an absolute was a benefit. You had a little bit of movement on the under and a little bit of movement on the money line. So all you do is sit back and watch the game. Like any other book, I don't know exactly what their bottom line was, but we did good. It would have done a little bit better with the total going under, but I will take this and mark it down for the next 51 Super Bowls.
Yeah. Where does that rank for you all time in terms of watching the Super Bowl and the epic comeback?
Yeah, you're right there. To make no mistake about it, especially when you're in a situation where you knew it couldn't be bad. You did what you should do, and Chris Andrews and all the crew, the kids over at the South Point, they had everything ready. It was very, very like the big red machine with the Cincinnati Reds. Everybody knew their position. Everybody knew what to do. Everybody was in constant motion for about 7 hours before kickoff, and it all turned out well. Very few things that you had to adjust or change in that situation here. And ticket count was unbelievable. I'm going to give you a stat, Paul, and you think the people out there just say, "Oh, Jimmy, you're full of baloney." Well, it's been so. The way the things are done anymore, you can track down anything that you do in the sports book, from where you are to who you are to what number it is to what each individual breakdown. They break down each individual station on how many tickets they write when the kids are checking out, when they turn their money in. We had a girl with a 10-hour shift. She wrote 2,000 tickets in 10 hours. That's 200 tickets an hour. That's incredible, young man.
Yes. And the game changer's been the mobile app.
Oh, my goodness. So that helped. We would have never gotten everybody in if it weren't for the mobile app, because you couldn't. I mean, we just got, as they were kicking off, we had about, we had like 8 to 10 stragglers that they're just getting there right at the end. And remember, we have 12 windows in the sportsbook at the South Point. We accommodated 1,000 people on the second floor in the ballroom, and we had 4 betting windows up there. So we had 16 betting windows that for the 7 hours leading up to the game, 7 to 8 hours leading up to the game, it was absolutely nonstop, minimum of 10 to 15 people in each line. That's a sight to behold. We took a lot of pictures. We spread it around. It was a good feeling, a good thought process. And here we go again. More women every year, Pauly, are coming to the windows.
Yes. Did anybody leave early when it was 28-3 and give up on it?
No, I don't think so. There might have been a few rip tickets that went through the garbage can at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But I was standing there right at the right behind the supervisor's console right there, and I don't think anybody left. And obviously, they weren't going to leave in the third quarter. Say maybe another 8 to 10 minutes into the fourth quarter, they might have started to people leave out. But when there was always that thing, if, and you knew if the Patriots got to 2 two situations where they needed, 2 scores to catch up. Actually, it got bigger and bigger and louder when it got a little bit closer in the third quarter.
Yeah. Isn't it great to be a bookmaker? The South Point wins, and you still had the game go to overtime, and the game goes over, and you had all the New England players go over with the props, especially Brady?
Yep. Here we are, Pauly. Now we can say in the 2018 Super Bowl, there's been one of everything, a 2-point conversion, a safety, and now the one that never hit before, right, the overtime. Well, that's in the history books also.
How big of a pain in the ass is it if New England wins 31-28?
Still be paying off tickets. That's all I can tell you from yesterday. It surely it wouldn't have really been catastrophic. It was nowhere. Don't start comparing to the 31-28 to the Steelers final falling on 4. But what makes it a little easier is that the computer figures out all the tickets no matter what happens. So if you tie one and have another 2 team involved in it, at least it figures it out for you. It would have been a pain in the ass, but it didn't happen.
Yep. So the bad props, I mean, these are obvious. Defensive touchdown, the pick 6, the game goes to overtime, 2-point conversion. Those were the bad props. What were the good props that you cleaned up on?
The props, it really wasn't like one, very, very bad or very, very good prop. I can't sit here honestly and tell you that there was one that we lost a lot of money up. We'd have lost $120,000 if the Patriots' final score would have been they scored 9 points. 9 or 11 was well over 100,000. So when it was 20-9, it was like, or 21-9, thinking, oh boy, here we go. Can they keep them shut? Can they shut them out the rest of the way? That would have been bad for us. But we wrote $30,500 on the coin toss, and we pocketed $4,900 on it. People wanted the decision early, and they got it.
My God. How about, I put you on the spot here, how about the McClellan play on the second Atlanta touchdown where he jumps over the center, and Atlanta wasn't going to kick it because they were just going to eat it because they had no chance of getting a kickoff. If they don't kick it, is that still considered a missed extra point?
Yeah, we were talking about it, and I think it would have been graded that way. And those are situations where we as an industry, especially I can speak for the South Point, I can't speak for anybody else, we have to be more meticulous in the way that we word these propositions, because I guarantee you there would have been beefs both ways with that one. But you were right. It would have been a pain in the neck. So it's on us to make sure that those things are so worded well worded that you don't have a situation like that. But, yeah, we were aiming towards one. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah. And you know what? This has been a great season. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you down the road. But thanks for coming on every week and recapping this. It's
always my pleasure, young man, and stay well, and we'll tell everybody out there we'll see him in August.
You got it, right around the corner. Thank you. Thanks to Jimmy Vaccaro. Always good to catch up with him on the deep dive. It was a fun season, a great ride, and we'll hopefully catch up with him down the road. Thank him for his time to come on every Tuesday during the show. Money time, play of the day, betting number 757, Sparty +4. Michigan State bench outscores opponents 64-24 the last 2 games. Major edge again here. Even though you went to Michigan, Teddy, you have no problem betting against the Wolverines here.
None whatsoever. Well, let's put it this way. My financial aid package for my senior year left me with $4,000 in unmet need, okay, which is basically FU from the financial aid office. Like, yeah, you're close to graduating. We don't care if you eat or not. I was hungry my senior year. Michigan still owes me money. No problem. Let's take the Spartans plus the 4, getting number 757. No surprise here if Michigan State wins this one in outright fashion.
Very good.
Sparty's got the bench edge. Sparty's got the overall edge. Michigan State plus the 4. And again, this is one we want to get involved with sooner rather than later. I'm not convinced this line is going to hold.
All right, tomorrow, Super Bowl 52 odds from Minneapolis. It's not going to be 70 degrees next year. I'll tell you that. It was 70 degrees in Houston. People are going to be pissed off with the cold next year. The game will be on NBC. In any event, we'll run down that coming up tomorrow. Recap everything. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. And don't forget the Google Hangout every Thursday, 8 o'clock Pacific. We'll talk to you then. And thanks for watching SportsBIT, Betting Insight Today.